Welcome to Homestead Reptile. Today's episode of Morph History is going to be on the snowflake and the dripping trait. These two traits are kind of combined to each other. You can have a snowflake without dripping, but you really can't have dripping without snowflake. So it is an incomplete dominant trait. It was first founded in the Rapashi crested gecko collection. AC Reptile worked with them. Many other people worked with them. They were originally called the white spot trait, but snowflake just sounds better, and it describes the way the pattern grows much more better than a white spot. There are traits called white spot or portholes. A porthole is very different from a snowflake. A porthole pretty much doesn't grow. It pretty much is the size it's going to be. It grows a little, but not like snowflaking. And normally with portholes, so if an animal is born with 3 portholes, it's going to retain 3 portholes. A snowflake will, spots will appear, they'll grow, and you'll get a lot more spots. It's a very different trait. Porthole is not incomplete dominant, and it's, I believe it is a polygenic trait. They don't really know how portholes work yet, as snowflake is an incomplete dominant trait. So there's that. There's a little confusing on what is a porthole and what is a snowflake, and I'll see a lot of people say a porthole gecko is a snowflake and a snowflake gecko is a porthole. They're different things, but they do look very similar to each other, but they are very different. So snowflakes start out with almost no spots or very little spots. And as they age, they grow, you'll get more spots, and they can grow as big as a penny. They can grow almost as big as a dime and just completely blot out a pattern. And you can have a ton of them. You can have like just a little bit of them. It really depends on the gecko and how they were bred and just what genetics they have. So it takes almost 2 years for a snowflake gecko to get its full snowflaking. It takes quite a long time. And something else that's kind of cool about snowflake. So depending on where the snowflake is in the chromatophores, they can start out as a more transparent, kind of like a ghost snowflake, and then they bloom into a white snowflake, or they can start out white and then bloom. It really depends on what layer of skin they're in. And that's also an interesting thing, because this guy, he has some more of a transparency spots, and then he has just some bright white spots. And they have definitely grown with his age. And right here, I'm going to put in photos of him as a baby to him as now. If you see him in my hands, these are the most updated video I have of this guy. And again, he has a lot more growing to do. He's just a little 17-gram guy. He's just looking better with age. He really started out kind of as the little ugly duckling, and now he's really turning into a swan. So I'm very lucky to have this guy. I think he's great. Snowflaking is also is one of the only epistasis traits. Sorry about that. So epistasis is just if gene A is present, then it forms a snowflake. If it's not, then it remains silent. That's all it is. Something also cool about snowflake. So you can have snowflake and a ton of different morphs. So you can have snowflake with pinstripe, and snowflakes with pinstripe is where you get the dripping. So he has a partial pin. He's a XX. So with that partial pin, if you have a snowflake with pin, you'll get the dripping. But dripping is not just at the laterals. You can have dripping in the legs. You can have dripping towards the side right there. It's just the dripping. So you get that dripping pattern when you have something that has a pinstripe. So anything that has a pinstripe and that is not a phantom, you'll get that lovely dripping. So you'll get it with your plain pinstripes, your harlequins that are pinned, anything that has pin. So you can have that dripping, and they're kind of like a combo. So you won't get a snowflake with drip if it's just a phantom, even if it has a pinstripe, just because phantom suppresses that white at that top right there. You're not going to get any dripping. If you just have a plain, if you have something that doesn't have a pinstripe, you're not getting dripping. But the cool thing about snowflake is the way it expresses with different genes. So snowflake with phantom, that's really cool. So you won't get the dripping with that, but you'll get some big snowflakes. It seems that you might get a little bit less, that the phantom kind of suppresses it a little bit, but you'll still get some really good pattern. You'll also get it with tangerine. So tangerine with snowflake is really interesting. I'll show examples here. So tangerine with snowflake is really interesting because that tangerine color infuses the white snowflake, making it look like kind of like a orangey snowflakey color. Really pretty orange color. You can get it with harlequin. You can get it with pinstripe. You can get it with Dalmatian. It's incomplete dominant. So whatever you want to put snowflake into, you can technically throw it in there. But it is an awesome trait. It's really pretty. And I think more people should want to work with it. And I think people just don't want to work with it as much as I see like other morphs, is because it takes so long to get a good looking animal. And it's a lot of patience, and you have to hold back a lot of babies. But it's a really cool trait, and I'm really enjoying having this guy and being able to see him really bloom and grow into an amazing gecko. There's also some interesting speculation with snowflakes. So AC Reptile has put out that it seems there is may be another snowflaking gene out there, or it's just over the time they've really stacked snowflaking, because these extreme snowflakes, I guess I'll say, they're not called that, but I'm just saying that. So these extremer snowflakes have 10 times the blooming across their body, and it's just like an amazing looking animal. And they don't know if it's a new gene or if it's just over the years as you progress with anything and you're making it look better and better. This is just the pinnacle of snowflaking, but it's just a speculation. They don't know yet. And this is just a really awesome morph, a lot of fun to work with. Like and subscribe, and tell me what other morphs you want me to talk about.